This is Todd Haberkorn, one of the many voices of your childhood, awkward teenage years, and hopefully well into your tax-paying adult years. Let me tell you, the Residents of Evil podcast just put a fire in my belly. But guess what? While you're digesting my episode, go check out some other episodes on YouTube right now. I mean, you are quarantining anyway, hashtag you should be. Do your ears a favor and get to it.
Hey, welcome everyone to this show. I'm joined by co-host Tony.
Hey everybody, how we doing today?
And our special guest today is Todd Haberkorn. How you doing, Todd?
Doing good enough. Thanks for having me. Good enough. Yeah, I'm locked in. I'm Obi-Wanning it from my sand dune hut, and I'm practicing the ways of the Force.
Excellent. So I know, I gotta say, a good percentage of our audience know who you are. You're pretty well known. You've had some very important characters throughout anime and gaming and movies. So for those who don't know you, though, can you get a little background on yourself?
Gosh, well, I'm trying to think what people would. Well, Fairy Tale. I get Natsu from Fairy Tale is a good one, folks.
I've heard of that one, yeah.
I mean, we did 328 episodes of it, and we did it for 10 years, so that was a lot of fun. Some people may know me from Watch Mojo. It's one of the ambassadors there, and a whole litany of other things that I'm happy to be a part of, and hopefully are keeping people busy during this time when we're trying to get our society back.
Yeah, definitely. It's a perfect time to go watch Fairy Tale again.
That's right.
By the way, I love Natsu. He's one of my favorite anime characters ever.
Oh, thank you. Mine too. I mean, I don't think I would get the tattoo on me if he weren't. So I'm glad he is.
Yeah, definitely. So you got the fire tattoo?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
When we reached 100 episodes, because I made a bet with the fans that if we reached 100 episodes of Fairy Tale, because at the time I'd been the lead in several shows that had more than 100 episodes, and we just never hit it. And so, I mean, eventually we did with D. Gray Man, but it took a decade. But with Fairy Tale, I said if the fans will support it, and no one was getting these tattoos, by the way. Nobody was. That wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
And so when I did it, I didn't know it was going to become this thing, and I made good on that bet. We went down after I finished recording the 100th episode. Funimation got a camera crew together, and I went with the director, and we went down to a tattoo parlor and made it happen.
That's awesome. Is that video posted where we can watch it?
There's the video on YouTube. They've got it. You just got to search my name and tattoo, and it'll pop up. And the tattoo artist Joe, who did it, it was the 18th anniversary of his very first tattoo, which is remarkable because he was covered from the top of his neck down to his feet in over 100 tattoos.
Wow.
A walking mural.
Yeah, really. He's a piece of art.
Yes.
So the big thing about bringing you on here, this for our Resident Evil fans, is that you play Murphy in Resident Evil 3.
Yes.
It's not a long part, but it is significant because Murphy provides context to Nikolai's character. And then, obviously your career outside of that is incredible. You've done so much. So we're very happy to have you on here.
Well, thank you. Yeah, Murphy, it was interesting because that role was actually bigger originally.
Oh,
and
wow.
when we were doing that project, so basically a group of people, we were all going to go to Japan to do the mocap for this game. Well, through script rewrites, which are common a lot of the times. I mean, things change, budget, this and that, stories, someone gets an idea, etc. And there's a whole litany of things that go on. And they reduced Murphy's part, and then it came down to a fiscal thing of like, well, if we're reducing the part, I mean, there's really not. It doesn't make sense, which I understand coming from a producing background. I understand it doesn't make sense to fly me out there, put me up, all of the vegetables of a production. It doesn't make sense to do that. Just get someone there to do it. It's while they're already there, especially because it's mocap. And so I still came in and obviously did the voice work for it. But It was exciting for a weekend when because I originally got the call from my agent after I'd booked it, and they said, "Oh, okay, you're going to Japan. It's going to be great. You're going to be there for, this many days." Da, da, da. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's start getting this together because it was going to happen relatively soon. And then Monday came around. They're like, "Oh, so everybody's going but you." So,
Oh, that sucks. That's so awful, man.
yeah. So, but it was nice when it came back around for the VO part of things.
Yeah, at least you got to keep that part of the work, doing the voice part. Sucks they cut your part though.
Yeah, they but being a fan of Resident Evil myself, I actually didn't play the original 3.
Mhm,
Part 2 I played, and then of course got to work on, but part 2 I loved. Part 4 is I think my favorite, and I think it's a lot of people's favorite.
mhm.
Part 2 I just had a ball playing, and then working on also was fun. I mean, the voice just thrashed for what I did for that game, but it was cool to be a part of it.
What were you doing for 2? Because it says, for your credits that you, did additional voices for RE2 Remake as well.
Yeah, I did a lot of the zombies that you hear, and
Oh, cool.
so that was it. It seems like it's a very slow-paced thing, and it wouldn't be really taxing on the voice, but the problem is, especially with zombies, the challenge rather, is that, well, you don't know exactly what you're gonna put in the final product, and you don't know exactly
Mhm.
how it should sound. So you kinda have to paint with a lot of brushes and a lot of colors on the canvas, and then later they'll go down and narrow it. So what that means is I've gotta run the whole gambit of sounds and call outs, and the director got super specific with what each gurgle and growl meant and what he wanted it to mean, and it was definitely an awkward recording experience. Now don't confuse that with bad, because it wasn't bad. It was awkward
Right.
simply because I'm wearing the headgear. I'm in there gesticulating and moving, and people think VO sometimes isn't very physical. This was very physical. My
Mhm.
whole body's into it. I'm transmogrifying from human into the undead right there, full lights on the other side of the glass. Everyone's just sitting and watching. So that's why it was awkward. I just wish that
Yeah.
what I want to do next time is just have all the lights out so they just hear me. I
Yeah.
think that's better than that's what I wish I would have said. I didn't think about it till later, but I mean, I was drenched in sweat and just throat,
Yeah.
done for
Yeah.
the day. But it was cool to be again a part of really a legendary franchise.
Yeah. And this is you were doing several projects with Capcom during that time because you're also in Devil May Cry 5, with 3 remake and 2 remake. Were they all being done at around the same time that you were working with them?
Devil May Cry and Part 2 were.
Mhm.
3, well, I guess, yeah, I guess they all were around the same time, yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
So it's, Devil May Cry, again, another great series, and then I love Ruben and Johnny, who are
Oh,
involved
yeah.
in the series as well. They're, great friends of mine, and it was great to have them come back, and I remember playing Devil May Cry in college. So it was fun to be a part of it, and that's another one where thrashing the voice, because often, even though at the time I was doing a lot of battle stuff with Natsu and
Mhm.
Fairy Tail, etc., it's a different kind of thing when you're having to find these different layers and nuances in your voice that create these creatures. But then, like with Devil May Cry 5, they're like, okay, they're not zombies, they're creatures, so it's a different modality and a
Right.
different approach. So it was interesting to work with everybody on that, and then well, I can't say the next part, but
Okay,
it was
okay.
down the road. I'll mention
We'll
more.
circle back to it in what, maybe a year or
Yeah,
so?
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I can imagine it's like a very guttural, noise, that they're making, these vocalizing these, grunts and moans and growls and everything, so it's gotta be rough on your throat.
Well, it's interesting because how do it's the classic thing when when you're at a holiday thing, you have family come up to you and you're like, so do a voice. Do a voice for me.
Oh, we
It's
want
like
to.
with something like Devil May Cry 5 or Resident Evil, it's like, well, it's not gonna sound the same. You've gotta it's got all the pieces have to be there, the visuals, etc. Me just doing it here in the kitchen next to the frickin' turkey coming out of the oven isn't gonna make sense to you. And so I try to refrain from I'm actually very introverted uh, I've found, because a lot of times, just the different various questions that family asks that, they're just trying to be interested, but they don't know the industry. And then when they ask certain questions, it's like, it's not going to make sense. Like, and then I'm going to look like a moron because I'm sitting here doing this for you. Like, I need the space. I've always said that, because I also direct.
Mhm.
Uh, I've always said that when we're behind the mic, that's our diary time. That's our journal. We're writing in it, and that's not for everybody to see.
Right.
Typically, when I'm directing and vice versa, I don't see the other actor, and if they are near me, I don't look at them. I let them have their privacy.
Mhm.
And so I feel like when I'm being asked stuff like that, over the marshmallows and yams at Thanksgiving, I'm like, listen, I'm not going to write in my diary right here next to the cream corn.
Right. And
So
Nana's sitting over there eating her pie.
yeah, she's more invested in that pie than she wants to hear about this. So
Yeah, and
it's,
football's
yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine, and I've always wondered about that too. I know, like from what I've seen, just from behind the scenes stuff, it's usually the actors in the booth. Like you said, it's kind of like a recording studio for music artists as well. You've got the window, the directors on the other side, as well as the sound crew, whoever's recording, and you're acting in front of them. And I always felt like that could be very uh, awkward because you're in a room, you're not on a set. you know.
Yeah, it's and also you're kind of the only one that
Mhm.
is dropped in and in it in that moment. Like when I'm directing, it's like I'm focused with the actor, but they're the one that has to be in it in that
Right.
moment. And so when you're the only one in that headspace at the time by yourself, really, unless we're doing a group record like with Ben 10, for example, when we
Hmm.
work on that, we're all there together. It's it's just for the actors. And so it can be a very layered situation.
Yeah. So, what do you prefer? I mean, you've been acting for a long time. You've done your directing as well. Which side do you like to be on?
I like both equally. I love the energy behind the mic because I get cast in things that I would never be cast in on camera.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm given more latitude, and people seem to sometimes have more imagination behind the mic because you can do more with the medium.
Hmm.
I can be a zombie and then turn around and be a prince and then a wizard and then a little kid and I can do all those things which I wouldn't of course wouldn't do on camera. With
Hmm.
directing, the joys that I get from there are starting with a project, looking at a session that has no audio in it, except in terms of voice. It may have the elements, the music, and sound effects, but it has no voice yet.
Hmm.
And then we create that, and over the course of days or weeks or months, sometimes years, we fill it all up with these colorful waveforms, and then you step back and you hear everything together. And so it's nice to see that come to fruition. It's nice to challenge actors and find actors who a lot of times I do casting in a way that's like, more often than not, I'll get actors that say, wow, no one ever cast me in roles like this. So thank you for giving me a shot. And I'm like, hell yeah, because that's what I like. I like
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
put in roles that people don't uh, normally see me as because we're actors. We have those abilities. It just takes someone with some some bravery to let that happen when it works.
right.
So it's fun to do that. It's fun to find those moments.
Yeah, I can see that. You kind of get to play in the imagination land on the other side and be, whatever you can even think of, whatever somebody brings to you, you get a chance to be this new version of yourself as this character, which is pretty cool.
And also I like to organize stuff and produce and get things together and schedule things and get documents in certain folders and Excel sheets. I like all of that analytical side of the business side of things as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, we talked about Natsu from Fairy Tail, but you've done several other recognizable characters. Some recently, like Jocko from Dragon Ball Super, Ayato from Tokyo Ghoul, Death the Kid from Soul Eater Not. A lot of really popular characters that people have a relationship and attachment to. Which one do you think, out of all your roles, is your most favorite, just for you to play? Which one do you really like the most?
I've been with Natsu the longest, so I'm gonna have to say Natsu, but for every role has a little something different that I like about it. Death the Kid, what a great looking show! The
Hmm.
imagination on that show is amazing. It's fun to be dark with Ayato, and Jocko, of course, is part of probably, arguably, the biggest anime franchise in history.
Yeah, I'd say
And so
definitely one of the most
it's very cool to be a part of that. And so it's everything has their little place on the bookshelf of life. And so
Mhm.
I wouldn't want I can't also what's attached to them are the experiences, the recording experiences themselves. So it's so layered, it's hard to pick a favorite, um, because each one has so many ingredients to it.
Mhm.
But I will say that Natsu is one that has stuck with me for many years, of course. And so it's been great to go all over the world and meet people who watch that show, and that show touches their lives, and they keep watching it. I've had people show me animals they've named after characters from Fairy Tale. Gosh, I've someone their business motto for their entire business is dialogue from Fairy Tale. I've seen people. I mean, anything you can imagine, I've seen it stem from fairy tales. So that show is very important, not only to me, but to other people as well.
I agree. It's very popular. I'm assuming that's probably the most of the people that come to see you at conventions are fairy tale fans, but you have a wide base, so they come for everything.
Yeah, it's I've been very fortunate in this crazy business that changes literally with the wind. And
Mm.
so I hope it continues. I hope to do it for another 100 years, and let's see, then I'll retire. In 100 years, I'm ready to retire.
Okay, that sounds like a good limit.
Yeah.
It's a solid plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you play both heroes and villains. Which one do you prefer? Do you like to play the hero or the villain?
Well, the heroes have more lines, so they're
That's a good
fun.
point. Yeah,
But
that's a good point.
the villains get to break the law, and so they're more fun. Heroes tend to have a very similar journey and structure,
Mhm.
whereas villains, in a way, villains do because they want to take over this or get this item or do this thing. But the way they get there is all sorts of colored outside the box, whereas heroes have a code they stick by
Right,
generally.
right.
And so they're both fun. It just depends on the day.
Okay. uh, this is something I kind of like to ask people because a lot of people they see the body of work, they see your career, but they don't know what you did before. And it's kind of interesting to see where you were before you started to get into this business. What were you doing before this?
Well, before voiceover, I was an on-camera actor and stage
Mhm.
actor. So I was doing that since I was a little kid. The last time I had a quote unquote, well, I mean, a job outside of the industry, outside of
Mhm.
entertainment or outside of acting, um, I was 16 and I worked at a grocery store.
Okay, so
Uh,
bagging groceries.
I was bagging groceries. I graduated to cashier. The only reason I went there is because a girl that I liked and quickly found out after started working there that she did not like me. So that was a
Oh
lot of
no!
fun. Now these 8-hour shifts felt like 80 hours,
Right.
because it was a small store. But yeah, I did that. And then I think I one other non-entertainment related job. And then other than that, it's been entertainment. So it's been actually the last job I had, the non-entertainment job, was when I was 17, and I worked at the precursor to Uber Eats. It was where
Oh,
you called a call center, and we had all the menus for all the different restaurants, and you ordered through us, and then we sent people to the restaurant and then delivered it to you. So this was years ago,
Hmm.
and
wow.
so it was the kind of the predecessor to all that. And I did not do well at that job at all, even though I had a cubicle. The boss did not like me. He thought I should go into the army. He would often test me. He would call up acting like he was a customer to see what my customer service acumen was. I passed the test, and it made him mad that I passed the test. But yeah, so that job did not last long. I have been doing the 9 to 5 thing. I don't imagine. I mean, obviously, anybody can learn anything, but oh man, it sure would be hard. Just because I haven't worked that muscle.
Yeah, you haven't spent time on that side.
I'm used to being in a booth for 12 hours, which is what we did for Sergeant Frog. I recorded that show 12 hours a day. I'm used
Jeez.
to being on sets for 17 hours. So in an
Right.
odd way, maybe that would be easier to do a 9 to 5. It's half the hours. So it's definitely it's been a life.
Yeah. So you went from working at the grocery store and the pre-Uber Eats. What how did you really start getting into the acting side of things?
Well, I had already been doing it since I was a kid. I just did this because the first job, well, both jobs I got simply because I liked a girl that worked there. So I didn't need to do them. I simply did them to try to ingratiate myself to these crushes.
Yeah.
And then the second one at the Uber Eats type place, I had my girlfriend at the time, my first girlfriend, she worked there. And so I wanted to work there to be near her. But outside of that, I had been acting since I was 10 years old. So,
Oh
and
wow. Okay.
training.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
And since you've been in the industry for so long, there's a lot of people, especially in our fan base as well, that are curious about getting into acting and voice acting, as well. Do you have any advice for them, something to give them a start?
Well, I think the, I think people have to know how deep the roots go on the reason why they want to do it.
Hmm.
So if they want to do it because they want to be on a Q&A panel at a convention, that's probably not going to have deep enough roots to endure the ups and downs of the career in
Right.
general, entertainment in general. If you do it because you've prepped your roots with the proper ingredients and the proper water called training and experience, and an attitude of wanting to, knowing that you will never know it all, then you've got some deep roots and that
Mhm.
might work. And I find that most people that come into voiceover, there are people that do it and do it well, that came from very humble beginnings, and then there are people that kind of did a parallel move, like from one part of the industry to voiceover.
Right.
All sorts of ways that it happens. I mean, like Mickey Mouse eventually was the engineer for the session because the original guy just couldn't make it in, and so the engineer did it, and then it stuck with him. So
Hmm.
there's all sorts of crazy ways that people get involved in the industry. I think that for a long time, specifically with anime, that was kind of the stepchild of entertainment,
Right.
because especially in LA, it's interesting. It's one of the hardest forms of VO, but it was looked at uh, as a last resort for years. But now, the past couple of years, absolutely changed. I have a lot of voice actors who have done Western animation come to me and say, "Hey, how do I get into this anime? How do I get into the?" Because they see that it's this resurgence of anime,
Hmm.
and so it's yeah. I mean, I guess it's an ebb and flow like everything. I mean, we've got, what is it? It's retro 80s now. I mean, we already did the 80s once, but now it's back. So I
It's
guess
back.
it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, so training and experience, I guess, getting your practice in. There's a lot of sites out there like Voice 123, Casting Call Club, where they can go and work on some fan projects and get some practice in. But definitely the training, trying to find some local theater.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything. I think people think that there are aspects of it that are not like any other job, but we deal with deadlines and spreadsheets and bosses just like any other business,
Hmm.
for sure. So, I mean, it's I think that's also realizing that it is like any other job. Ups and downs, good days, bad days, everything in between.
Right. So, with all the roles you've done, are there any roles you've done that you didn't like that you came back later and thought about? It's like, man, I wish I had maybe done something different with that one, or maybe not taken on that project. But this is a tricky question because you don't want to
Uh,
break any
I mean,
relationships.
yeah, if there's anything that sticks out of my mind, it's not necessarily because of the project. It's more the recording experience. And there have been some, I mean, gosh, you know, after this many years, you're bound to, I mean, if they're all fantastic, wonderful experiences, there's something shallow about that.
Yeah, you
I,
wouldn't grow from it.
I think so. Yeah, there have been some hard sessions, sure. and hard directors to work with. And I think that at the time, those aspects really had nothing to do with the material itself. It had to do with the person to person connection, or lack of growth from either side. So I think, yeah, I mean, definitely there have been times when it's been like, man, this is a freaking hard session. And it ain't because of the scripts, you know?
Mhm.
So it just depends. I definitely have some memorable milestones there, but on the whole, I have to say it's been amazing and a really wonderful experience.
I think when I interviewed Johnny a while back, Johnny Bosch, and he said that there was something, if I can remember, it was a couple years ago, but there was a goblin role that he got cast to play for a cartoon or an anime that was literally just him making grunts all day. He said that was probably one of the worst experiences he ever had. He's like, I can't believe I signed on for that one. So you can do a lot of conventions as well. Do you have a particular convention you like to go to?
Man, speaking of Johnny, I see him a lot at conventions. That
Yeah.
dude, we've done some wild hangouts at cons. I cannot believe how late he can stay up. I'm like, man, 10 o'clock, time to start getting ready and doing that bedtime routine. But man, that guy can go to like 5 a.m. sometimes. Favorite conventions? Man, there's some great ones. Ones that come to mind, SakuraCon in Seattle is awesome. That's a great convention. Phoenix Comic Con was wonderful. I guess what they're calling it now is Salt Lake City Comic Con. They're called something else now.
Is it, it's not Fan Expo, is it? Fan Expo's Dallas, I think.
Fan Expo is different, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's great. The great folks at Supernova, Daniel and his crew, really wonderful conventions there that they do in Australia.
That's been
There
a
are
lot lately.
definitely amazing events out there, and it's been a blast to be a part of them. I've done over 200 and something appearances, and
Wow.
it's definitely fantastic conventions and everything in between. Which again is bound to happen. I mean, it's gonna happen. So but the one thing that is constant throughout every convention, no matter what, is the enthusiasm of the fans. No matter what, after all those years, every single convention, the fans, the care that they have for these shows and the love that they bring and the efforts that they go through to come to these conventions, that has been consistent. That's the one thing I will say that's been consistent, strangely, because it doesn't make sense that it would be. But it's amazing. They definitely love conventions and they love coming together and meeting new people and coming together for something that they really care about and has touched their lives. And so to be a part of that fabric is a very special treat for me. So I look back on it with great fondness. And if conventions ever come back, I'll see everybody there.
I hope they come back once we
Yeah,
get past
a
all
lot of
this.
cons and everything like that. Like they get some of like the best guests, and the guests are always. I mean, like I've been doing cons since like I'm dating myself here, but I've been going since like 2003, 2004.
Okay.
And that's like really like when like anime was still kind of like not like the in things, but like even back then, the guests that came out, like I think one of the first conventions here at Anime Boston, or I think it was maybe like the second or third year, we had the entire original cast from the first Full Metal Alchemist series.
Oh wow.
Ah, okay. Well, yeah, and Anime Boston was my very first convention.
No,
Oh cool.
my hometown.
Yeah. That was my very first con, and I made a return there a couple years back. Yeah, it was my very first convention, had a great time, very well run con, had a blast. So it's funny because before I went back to that convention, it had been so long since I've been there. This was just a couple years ago. I was cosplaying as Batman, and I went up to their table, and I said, "Hey, have you ever had Todd Haberkorn at your con? That might want to investigate that. That might be something cool to do." Like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I don't think he's been. We should look into that." And then later I contacted them. I was like, "Yeah, that was
That's me.
me.
I was
Sorry about
trying to get you guys
that."
Like,
That didn't work though.
you know, like
Yeah, it was great.
we definitely got to get you back because I go to Anime Boston obviously not this year because of the virus they canceled it, but I don't get to go to a lot of autographs and signings and see people because I make a living as a photographer, so I do like a lot of the cosplay stuff at these cons, and
Oh, okay.
And but like I always try to make time. Like I made time to see Johnny. It was last year when like Devil May Cry was coming out, and he saw that I was wearing a shirt, so he was asking me all these questions, and I felt bad. I was like Johnny, I'd love to talk to you a little bit more. Maybe I can come back a little later, but I got to jet to a photo shoot. And he's like, oh, that's right, yeah, no, go for it. I was just like, holy crap, he's asking me questions. Like this is crazy.
Yeah.
And you know, it was just it was really cool meeting him and like all the people I've met throughout the years. Like Richard Epcar was one of the best ones I ever met a couple of years ago down in Florida.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
great. And like I said, hopefully we can get you back to Boston next year because, like I said, I'd love to meet you in person too.
Oh yeah, no, that'd be great. Obviously, the food there is really good too. I'm a big foodie, so that's always a pleasure.
Oh yeah, our city's famous for everything, and you know, like seafood and chowder.
Absolutely.
Some Boston chowder. Yeah, I love conventions. I love going there because you're just like we live our lives daily. We have our family, have our friends, but when you go to these conventions, you're surrounded by thousands of people that have the same loves and passions that you do, which is
Yeah, and it's the same all over the world.
Mhm.
All over the world, that love is coming from the same place. It's really really remarkable.
It is, and
And I
like
like
the
yeah.
weird thing too about that was like you mentioned Australia and everything. Australia, I don't know what it's been, but like conventions for Australia, like I see like all the voice actors and a lot of the actors I follow from Power Rangers all going down there, and I just see the videos, and I'm just like, man, Australia's doing it big. Literally, go big or go home. They are not screwing around.
Oh yeah, they definitely take care of you. It's they also with Supernova, everyone is part of the family there.
Yeah,
And
Supernova's
so
like the biggest one, right?
yeah, they definitely have a long history there, and they take care in everything that they do,
That's
and you
amazing.
see that in
Mhm.
person. It's a great time.
I like that I'm seeing more voice actors make appearances too. So a lot of the ones that I've gone to have been TV shows and movies, but some of the last ones, probably the last two or three, I've seen that there's been more voice actors showing up, and I love that. Like Tara Strong, I got to meet her last year. She's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, Tara's great. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely, very
yeah.
talented too.
I grew up watching her, or like Allison Court, from Resident Evil 2. She was on these shows that I watched as a kid. I loved her from Resident Evil 2. Grew up playing the games with her. So it's nice to see that there's guests are starting to show up that are from different areas of the industry, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. More
Like
the
you said,
merrier.
anime is coming around to where it's held at a higher level medium than it used to be. So it's nice to see that they're getting respect. They're showing up to conventions. And I know you guys are pretty active with the conventions. Just unfortunately, the ones I've been to have never really featured too many voice actors.
Yeah, it's interesting. They sometimes it's a beast that some conventions don't know and they don't understand.
Mhm.
And then I encourage them to go see a line for autographs on a Saturday, and
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
then let's chat.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like some of those lines, the lines they get, like I met Johnny again at CTCon, last year because all the Devil May Cry guys there, so I got to meet Ruben and Brian and Dan
Yeah.
and everything. And Johnny's line was so huge, it was like they were having trouble like trying to like angle it and get it the right way so it didn't cross
Absolutely.
the others.
hmm
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I definitely, when I was at this last year at SAC Anime in Sacramento, I believe I signed for 9 hours straight.
Jeez,
Whoa,
yeah.
And so it's
that's
it
crazy.
frustrates me sometimes when I one time I went to go try to get Schwarzenegger's autograph at a book signing. So I'm waiting in line, went early, waiting outside. And then they came out and said he's only going to sign for an hour. And I blurted out like, an hour?
Yeah.
I'll do 9. And then someone's like, what do you mean? I was like, never mind.
Never mind.
Yeah, but it was just, it's like an hour? That's it? Oh, well.
He's
Yeah,
old. He can
yeah.
only sit for so long. His hands cramp.
Listen to me. My bicep only has 1 hour. I can't sign your book. Ah!
I love it. It's great. But yeah, like that's the thing. Like, that's amazing. Like that you have that like level of like dedication to, your fans like that. I mean, like, because you've been in so much and everything, but some people take breaks and everything. Like 9 hours, that's crazy. I mean, because like, Ali and myself and the rest of our team, we had our first convention when we went down to PAX South this year. We had 200 people, and then in the actual panel that we had, and then eventually when we got out there was even more people that showed up because they saw the line. We also,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
true. Some people that jump in line just because it's a line.
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people. I should probably get in this one too to see what's going on.
And you were saying that you were at SAC Anime, so you probably ran into our good friend Nick Apostolitis.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Was it SAC
Absolutely.
Anime?
Mhm. Yeah, I think he was. Yeah, that's when he went in his cosplay.
Yeah, I definitely we run into a lot of good folks along the way. That's
Yeah.
another place where, oftentimes even though we record on the same shows together, we don't get to see each other.
Mhm.
Uh and so cons are a great time to catch up with folks.
Speaking of catching up with people, when we were talking to, was it Nicole or it was Neil? I think
No, it was Neil.
Neil. Yeah, Neil said you, him, Christian Howard, and DC Douglas were together in Japan. And Tony was asking me, he's like, "What kind of crazy stories? What did they get into out there?"
Oh my god. I just I
Just the voice alone, there it is.
I I like going to bed at a decent time. That was not possible for the entire month.
Oh,
It
for a month.
just
Oh,
wasn't
Jesus.
Oh
possible.
wow.
It was great to get to know them.
Mhm.
I hope we continue the, friendship, but damn, there was a lot of we got our steps in, I'll say that. We definitely saw the city.
You saw the city, ins and outs, every alley.
I can only imagine
Yes.
because we had DC on the show and about like a year or it was like 2 years
And
ago.
he's a blast.
Yeah, he was a riot. You could tell he's. I mean, like I've seen his videos. I've seen him at like cons when he goes to like the raves and stuff, and I'm like, this man is a machine. So like I can only imagine like where he's in the
Where,
pack with
where
you
he drug
guys.
you
That
guys.
it's literally
Oh,
something
no,
out of The Hangover or something.
he definitely he definitely likes to explore.
Mhm.
Where his energy comes from, I am still sussing that out and, running a couple theories past some scientific method. I will figure it out one day, but until then, I leave the late nights to him.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I'm the same. I'm the same with my group of friends. Like, I'm 32, and a lot of my friends they're like in their early 20s or mid 20s. So when we all go to these conventions together, I'm on my feet working like 10, 11 hours a day doing photo shoots, lugging all the equipment everywhere. So like, time to like call it quits at the end of the day. I usually stop shooting around like 9 o'clock at night, and my friends are like, "Yeah, Tony, we're gonna go. You're gonna come to dinner, and then we're gonna go to the clubs." And I'm like,
No.
no, I'm going to bed. I don't want to babysit you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No,
Yeah.
I got a whole routine I like to do before bed, and it gets disrupted when you're hanging out with fun people.
I can imagine. So, how did you get start working with Watch Mojo? I've seen a lot of your top tens. I love them because they brought you in for pretty much all the anime ones.
Yeah, no, thank you. I was a fan of theirs and then happily discovered that the feeling was mutual. And I said, well, why don't we join forces? Why don't we do some stuff? And so we talked about it, worked out the details, etc., and then found that it would be nice to work together and record some stuff. And so they have me doing a lot of video game lists and anime
Mhm.
lists. Right now it's in on hiatus until obviously everything gets back to normal,
Right.
but it's definitely it's been fun working with them. They're nice folks. They love what they're doing. They love what they're creating. They you'd have to because wow, they release a lot of videos.
Yes, they do. Daily, at least,
Uh,
right?
it's so funny to I go on those comment sections and I'm looking around and I watch stuff and they're like, oh, why'd they do this list? Like in a sea, that's where my mind goes. Like in a sea of amazing compliments, I find that one dude that's like,
Yeah.
why'd they do this list?
Or
And then I'm like,
first person who
you
cares.
try releasing 7 videos a day every single day. Go. I'll wait.
Yeah, it ain't
So
no joke.
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
amazing how much stuff they release, but the feedback, like I said, is great. So I'll keep doing it until otherwise.
I remember the first time I saw, oh, hey, it features Todd Haberkorn. Cool. And then I saw one come out later. I was like, oh, he's on there again. And then another one was like, he must have a contract with them because he's in
Yeah,
all.
yeah, we got some stuff worked out.
Got some business relations going.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With how busy you are, is there anything coming up that we can talk about that you want us to be looking out for?
Let me think here. Stuff that I try not to get in trouble with this, but
Yeah.
well, I guess Altered Carbon Resleeved
Yeah, that one's out.
just came out. That's on Netflix. It's kind of it's an anime OVA to just supplement the universe of Altered Carbon. Trying to think of things that are out also. Power Players is a show that I direct for Cartoon Network that just came to Netflix last month.
Ooh.
That's a really fun show. If you like Toy Story, this show's a lot of fun to work on. Great cast as well. I'm also in the show. And then video game wise, I don't know if there's some big video games coming out this year, big cartoons. I guess Transformers I could talk about.
Oh yeah, I
War
saw
for
that.
that's
Cybertron.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get to play a Decepticon and Autobot in that. That was a
Oh, nice.
blast.
Yeah.
There's stuff. There's stuff. Everyone will hear about it when they on social media and Instagram and all that fun stuff.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, where can they follow you so they can keep up to date what's going on?
I really like Instagram a lot, and so official_Habergram is where I tend to hang my hat. Facebook, I do. Twitter, yeah, but really Instagram's the most fun. That's
Okay.
where I get, because everyone aspires to this, I guess. You try to just do the things that are fun, and I have fun doing it, so I'll keep doing it on Instagram. If you go to thehabitat.com, which is my page, it has all the links to my social media and all that stuff too. So it's all in there. But yeah, come say hi.
That's awesome. Habitat.com.
Yeah.
I love it. That's cool.
That is good. And actually, before we leave, dude, I gotta say, like, two of my roles that I love from you that you've done over the years. One of them is Yoon from Street Fighter.
Oh yeah.
Yep. I know it's a fighting game, but I know like there were cutscenes, like the prologue and the epilogues and everything like that. I don't know if you know the history of the character, but he was kind of busted in the original Street Fighter, like Third Strike.
Oh, I heard he was OP.
Oh yeah, he's OP, all right. Like,
Yeah.
he would just do like his special and just get you in a loop, and so many people hated like fighting him for years. And then when he got added to, I think, he got added in Super Street Fighter, if I remember correctly. And so many of my fighting game friends were like, "Nope, not touching this game." No, I was like, "No, come on, guys, give it a chance and everything." We love Yang and Yoon. They're great characters. Let's see. And then, like, the funny thing was, Yoon started to be like he was in Third Strike. And
yeah, that's what I heard. People were using him in tournaments.
Yep.
And pissing people off.
Yep. It was great. Like, and so, like, like, that was just a role I love. I love how the character looks. He's a skateboarder, and he was just, it was a great character. And I was kind of hoping like there would be like a Street Fighter anime that would have come out so you could play the character again, because he's just such a great character. And
well, he was a lot of fun, and it was great to have Johnny as my brother.
Yep.
And hopefully in a future DLC we'll see him come back.
Yeah, like I thought they would have ended up in that Street Fighter Cross Tekken game, but that didn't happen, unfortunately. But
yeah, I who knows how all these things come together. I wait till my agent's like, throws the bat signal up, and then I put the suit on.
I love it.
Go to work.
There was actually like, because like there's a I know Ruben Langdon does this, but I don't know if you entered his little Street Fighter tournament for the voice actors that he does.
No.
Yeah,
I didn't know about that.
Like, he's because he obviously he's Ken Masters and everything, and he always challenges the voice actors of the other characters. I remember years ago he was fighting Matt Mercer because he was Fei Long. I know he did. I think he fought against R. Mika from Street Fighter V, her voice actress, and Kyle Hebert. He's Ryu and stuff. So I'm pretty sure he fought him, and he's technically undefeated.
Oh no.
Wow. Well, I gotta call him up. It'll be a good excuse to chat with him. It's been a minute.
Seriously, like,
challenger has emerged.
Something like that would be great. And for the final role that I thought was fantastic, and my personal favorite for you, aside from Death the Kid, because again that show was great, and I hope they bring it back like they're doing with Bleach, like to finish it off, because the manga did finish a couple of years ago. But the big one is Ling from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yeah, he's a good fighter. That's a good fighter right there.
Oh yeah,
and the only one that I think can get away with a shirtless yellow-white vest combo.
Yep. That was a character that I loved. Like, I loved throughout the whole thing, and then the whole part where like he takes in the Greed, the thing, and he was gone for a while. I was like, I hope he comes back, man. Like, this is like the character.
Yeah.
And then, like, you had like the dual personality thing. That was great.
Yeah, that was fun. Oh, Troy Baker and I. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
that was like
Troy is another one.
it was so strange to like, because I was shocked that they didn't bring back the first Greed's voice actor. I can't, name is escaping me right now. So like, and they went with Troy, but it worked, and I think you both did phenomenal, especially towards the end, like where like you're trying to like hold on to him, and like that was a great scene. You guys,
Well, thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Obviously Troy's immensely talented, so it was great to anytime I get to work with him is a blast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We were talking earlier about gaming. Is there any games that you really like love from your childhood?
Oh man, I play so many games, and I have so many games that are waiting for me to finish them. Right now, of course, I'm trying to pay off freaking Mr. Nook
Oh no,
in
he's
Animal
talking about
Crossing. Sitting here owing this jack off 170,000 bells. So I'm working on it.
The juice is running.
But that Call of Duty, Rainbow Six Siege.
Ooh.
But yeah, there's a lot going on. There's too many games.
There
Too
is.
many games.
So many good games out there. And I have the same
Yeah.
problem. I'm working through a list of a library full of games that I'll probably never finish.
Yep. But hey, listen, the good thing is that save for something like Watch Dogs 2 that relies on multiplayer and such, I mean, they should still be there by the time we get to them decades from now. So
Hopefully.
we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm still going back and playing old NES and Sega and Super Nintendo games that I never got to play as a kid.
Yeah, I've got those sitting in I have all the retro systems sitting in my Habertorium waiting for me as well. But I'm so focused on Animal Crossing right now. It's ridiculous.
Right.
Oh,
I've heard that soaks up your life.
That game
Yes.
is literally stolen. All my cosplay friends have like stopped their cosplays, and everybody else is just like, nope, it's Animal Crossing, and that's all it is. And I was just like, y'all are gonna lose your homes, you're all gonna lose your relationships, all for
Well, technically they won't lose their homes on their islands.
This is true.
True.
This is true.
So,
I'll always have a
The only
home
one
there.
that matters.
that's right.
Now, like I'm a huge fan myself of I've been
Yeah.
collecting. I mean, I don't know if I say like I ever started collecting video games. I just always like worked hard to get the games that I got, and I have like over like 1,000 physical video games themselves before the digital
His
stuff.
room is literally a library. It's hard copy video games everywhere.
Wow, awesome.
Well, like,
Yeah.
I mean,
That's fantastic.
I never traded them in and everything. And like my buddies and I for years were always going to the flea markets, really before like retro gaming was like a thing to collect. So I was always getting good deals on games. And it's weird, like PS2 is like the big thing to buy right now. So those are kind of going up in price.
Mhm.
The two systems right now that are really cheap to buy for are the original Wii and the original Xbox. You can get those games. Yeah, like a lot of those games, those systems weren't kind of like well received in many aspects in terms of games, but there's a lot of hidden gems on there to where, yeah, some of them might not be the best, but there's a lot of fun in a lot of them.
Sure, yeah.
And that's the best part.
There's a multitude. We've got a lot of entertainment options coming at us from all sorts of places.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
so much,
sure.
too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll start wrapping this up here so we can let you go about your day. Do you have any final closing thoughts for the fans, for Resident Evil and your fan base in general?
Thank you for welcoming me into the Resident Evil world, and I hope I get to play again, and this time maybe not get shot in the head.
Right. And then just think, every time you guys murder a zombie in Resident Evil, it's probably Todd.
That's right.
It's probably Todd.
Enjoy,
Yes.
trolls. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on here. It was a blast talking to you. I've wanted to talk to you for a long time because I've always had a interest in your career and your characters, and it's just great to have you on and finally break some of that down with you.
Well, I really appreciate it. I thank you for getting me on here and getting me out of my Animal Crossing island to re-engage with humanity. So thank you.
Well, I guess we'll let you get back to it then. Go back to your island.
Okay, gotta go get some bells.
Right. Thanks again, Todd. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. See you next time.
All right, guys, that's going to be it. If you guys enjoyed this podcast, please leave a like and subscribe for more interviews with the cast of Resident Evil 3. This episode of the ROE Podcast was brought to you by our patrons. Our Master of Unlocking patrons are ProXY One Creations, Trent Overton, Devon L Dusseau, Christopher Sedrick, Eddie Jr., Jarrell Moon, Iron Pear Studios, and Bailey Ritter. If you guys would like to help support the channel, head over to patreon.com/ROE Network. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you back at the Residence of Evil.